Hello, everyone. Welcome to this freeform episode of the Mindful in Minutes podcast. So today we are going to talk about how you're going to get through the tough times. And I'm talking like the really hard stuff, the how am I ever going to get through this, or how will I ever get through this, like type of stuff. And I'm talking about that kind of immediate, not the how am I going to get through this a year from now, but like I am in the thick of really, really, really hard stuff right now. What can I do? Even just get through it a little bit, to just get through the day, whatever it is. And I wanted to share my thoughts, my ideas, things that I've done to help move forward during the really tough times. The things that just, where you're like, this is just not fair. This is not, what I thought was going to happen in my life. Or maybe you're dealing with loss, grief, breakups. These are things that I get asked about all the time. I hear from a lot of you. I know that many of you, probably the majority of you, came across this podcast when things weren't necessarily going right. And I get it. Like when you are experiencing grief, loss, a tragedy in your family, maybe you're a caregiver for a family member, you lost your job, so many things, so much in life, unfortunately, can just be so, so tough. And you're not looking for things like guided meditations to help you calm your anxiety or navigate change or heal your heart or get soul guidance. Like you're not trying to find those things when everything is just going well. You look for those things when you're going through it, when you're looking for help and support. And for many people, and I've experienced this too with my meditation practice, when I was really just starting to dabble in it, it's like everything is going wrong and you're looking for anything to help you. And I know that many of you came to this podcast during one of those times in your life and you came across a meditation with a specific topic. And that's how, I almost said it, that's how we became friends. That is how we became friends. That's how we became podcast friends. But I know that for so many of you, and when I chat in DMs, when you email me, things like that, I've heard many of your guys' stories. And I know that that's when you came to this podcast. And I know that I talk about all the time, like, I don't really know how to talk about grief because grief is so unique to each individual. There's many different kinds of grief, but I can talk about tough stuff. We all have stuff in life. I've shared some of my big things. When my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 16, I thought that was it. I thought I was going to lose my mom in high school, and thankfully I didn't. But that was really hard. Also, being a caregiver, helping to support someone, anyone who has had the experience of kind of being the kid and having to help care for your adult parent. It's a really interesting experience. It's hard. I don't know what other word to use for it. It's like, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural when you are having to help support. And like my mom was so self-sufficient and was like amazing and such a trooper throughout the whole thing. But just, little things. You're used to your parents, your caregivers taking care of you when you're the kid. And then all of a sudden, they need help with little things, little chores, little tasks, things like that. It doesn't quite feel natural. I remember really feeling that in that moment of like, it just felt so backwards because I was so used to being taken care of. And now I was the one helping to give care in certain situations. So that was something. I've shared my tricky relationship with food that has sent me down different dark paths. When I was in 7th grade, I don't know if I've actually fully shared this story, but I know I joke all the time, like, aren't we all just formed by our, 7th grade trauma? Also, oh my gosh, I'm like 4 minutes into this podcast and we're already getting like super dark of like, when am I going to lose my mom? And then weird relationships with food and 7th grade girl trauma. But anyways, in seventh grade, truly one of the hardest things in my childhood that I went through was I was bullied. I know this is a word that we use a lot, but I was like extremely bullied. And I had these girls for an entire year pretend that they wanted to be my friend, but they were actually like making fun of me, doing really awful things, just really, really, really awful. And then after that year, they thought it would be really fun to, I don't even know. You know what? Now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't know if I actually want to um, say all of this just because, okay, here's what I will say. I don't, this gets really dark really fast. These individuals, I remember they called me on the phone after like this year of kind of like torment of like pretending to be my friend, but also being really awful and like humiliating me and all of these things. And I just so desperately wanted to be liked that I, would do what they asked because I just wanted friends. I didn't have any friends. And then this all culminated into them, calling and saying really awful things and suggesting that I do really awful things to myself. That's what I'll say about that. And yeah, I don't know. That was truly one of the hardest things. And like even more recently, there's stuff like I've talked about things that have happened to me in the past, and now I don't really share a lot of specifics about just really hard life stuff that has impacted me because it also impacts other people, and I just don't share anyone else. I'll share my business, but I don't want to share anyone else's business. But there's things that have been really tough, even in the really tough in the last 5 years, that I feel like I am still working on moving through at times. And I share all of this. I don't know why I necessarily felt like I need to kick off this episode by giving you like my trauma resume, like some specifics and also just like vague, but I share all of this for a couple of reasons. One, I want to say that I may not have experienced the exact pain or loss or tough that you're experiencing at this moment, or that you have experienced, or that you may experience. But I wanted to speak to some of these things because to be a human is to also know pain. It is to like know life and to know love and beauty and really great things. But at some point, at one point or another, we will know deep pain and loss and sadness, and you will have moments where you will just not know if you're ever going to make it through. And then everything in between, right? There's like the highest highs and also the lowest lows, everything in between. That is a part of the human experience. And I wanted to share some of these things that I've gone through as well, because I think that sometimes the hard things in our life, we like to keep them hidden and packed away and kind of treat them like that, old piece of cheese, like in the back of the fridge that we let kind of sit there and like get moldy and just get worse and worse and worse. And sometimes we just shed some light on it. I think that it helps not only like personally, but I sometimes find it helpful when I hear other people sharing experiences that are maybe similar to ones that I've experienced, and seeing that like they are now on the other side of it, or they're currently working through it. And I think that just sometimes gives me hope. So I share all of that, again, not to like give you my full trauma resume, but these are the things that in those moments I sat down, I was reflecting, I was saying, okay, what have I done in the really, really hard moments? What tools have I put in my toolbox that I am still employing to this very day? As an adult, what works for me? And my hope is, by sharing all of this, that maybe there's something that will help you, or something that I've learned or acquired with time. Hopefully none of you ever need it, and you never have those moments where you think, how am I ever going to get through this? But if you do, I wanted to share these. Or maybe if you're currently going through one of those moments, I want to hold space for you and help you with that if I can. So I thought it was about time that we talk about how you get through the really hard days. This episode is not going to be super, super meditation specific. There'll be a little bit about it, but if you're here, I know a lot of you, a fun fact, fun fact, we have some new listeners because the nervous system 101 episode, nervous system regulation 101 episode, I don't know if it like got boosted somewhere or caught in an algorithm somewhere, but I've been getting a lot of emails, which this usually doesn't happen. I would say I've been getting, and for me, this is a lot, like 2 to 5 emails or DMs every day since that podcast has been released. Specifically, people saying pretty much the same thing. I came across your nervous system regulation 101 episode, and it really was interesting to me. And I'd never listened to your podcast before. And I really liked that information. And I did the meditation that went with it. And then I'm sticking around. So that's really cool to hear and amazing to hear. I do love some science. If you came here for that episode and you think all of them are like all science, this episode is not that. But I will say, I meant to say this at the top of the episode, but I just dove right into like, let me tell you about some of the saddest things that have happened to me in my life. I have also been getting daily emails about the 5-day nervous system reset challenge with people saying, I love you all so much, saying things basically like, I know that this was a live challenge and that it's already passed and you said I couldn't join, but I'm wondering if I can join. So my answer is no, because I can't go back into the past and have you join. However, this actually last night, 2 nights ago, I took it upon myself to convert that challenge to kind of an evergreen model. And so I'm going to put the link in the show notes, but you can now enter your email and it'll automatically start again and send you like day one. So if you missed that one, and I've been responding to your messages or your emails saying like, hang tight, I'm working on it. Or you you're catching up on episodes, and you're like, dang it, I missed it. You can do it now. I made it just kind of like evergreen. It is ready to go. The link is in the show notes if you want to do that 5-day nervous system reset. So I meant to say that at the beginning, but I'll say it here. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the things that I think help in the really tough moments when you're in like the thick of it. And then I also had put a question box over on Instagram and asked you guys, do you have any tips or tricks or things that have been particularly helpful for you? And I have some of those to share. So we have some like listener submissions as well. There were some definite themes. So I'm adding just kind of what seems to be like the big ones that you all recommended. So the first thing that I think helps when you're in the thick of it and you're trying to just get through it is to sit with your feelings. I know they say if you can't feel it, you can't heal it. And I get it. Those feelings are intense. They are big. The last thing we want to do is like sit with those feelings. But I find this particularly helpful because sometimes I don't know how I'm feeling. And I do need some space to just give myself a little bit of time to kind of work through it, even in the moment of like, I know I'm feeling awful, but like, what is the awful that's happening? And it's okay if it changes. How you feel can change and will change. It could change from hour to hour, day to day, year to year. But sitting and creating a container for your feelings and giving yourself some space to just feel, kind of let it out, I do find that to be helpful. I've also really been enjoying writing, some creative writing, whether it be some poetry or just kind of reflecting, free writing, just whatever needs to come out, I just let it come out. And that's it. That I find to be really helpful and a good way to kind of just in the moment sort of process, like, what am I feeling? And just let it all out, like from, through pen to paper, or just sitting, taking a few deep breaths, just letting yourself feel. And as best you can, try to observe without judgment. This is going to be so hard, like nearly impossible, because you're going through something really hard and chances are you're being hard on yourself too. But as best you can, just try to observe as if your friend came to you and was just telling you, this is how I'm feeling about this thing. Can you just observe your feelings as best you can in that moment? I find it helps. Also, a pro tip, I had a call with the beautiful Alyssa after I was working on these notes. And I was like, the beautiful Alyssa, by the way, is a Team Yoga for You member. So if anyone is listening or watching this, I guess, on YouTube, not that you see my face because no one wants to see the inside of my dark closet, but it is the beautiful Alyssa that took the podcast episode and turned it into a YouTube video. So I had a call with Alyssa and I was like, hey, well, I have you. Like, I'm working on these notes about how you get through really awful times, like in the first few days. I was like, do you do anything or do you have any ideas? And she had this really interesting thing that I wanted to include. Kind of, first thing that came to her mind was like, you just have to let yourself feel it. You have to sit with it. She said she did this thing where you give yourself like 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and at night to just like feel and be a mess. And I thought this was really interesting because I'm thinking you could even like set a timer and be like, okay, I'm going to give myself like these 10 minutes to just sit and feel and like let it out or whatever, whether it's not letting it out, whatever you need to do. And I thought that was such an interesting thing, is to like carve out that time in the morning and at night, because often when we're really going through it, we still have to be adults. We still have to go to work. We still have to be parents. We still have to be functioning members of society. And I think carving out that time at the beginning and end of the day to like honor however you're feeling was a really great idea. So there's a pro tip from Alyssa. Number 2, try not to stay stuck for too long. Make a small and manageable action plan and start moving forward. Like even if you're just crawling forward. This is what has always helped me. My personal brand of trauma response, if you will, is like, okay, what can I start doing? And I know that's not everyone's reaction. Mine, if I just really sit, like I give myself the time to sit with my feelings, but if I do that so long and then I get stuck and then I start spiraling, like I have to start springing to action and being like, okay, what can I do? What are some options here? What's a potential solution? And it could be something, even if it's like, I'm dealing with a really big disappointment or something that didn't follow through. It's like, okay, that was a really big disappointment. Maybe I had this thing that I thought was going to happen professionally and it fell through, or something didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Whatever it is, thinking about, okay, what can I do to move forward? Is it, maybe there is a health situation going on. Can I don't know, call a specialist? Can I, do some research within reason? Can I look into studies that have been done? Like, what is something that I can do for whatever hard thing that's going on that I can just start making an action plan and start moving forward? I have always found that to be really helpful. Even if I'm in the thick of the big feelings, if I feel like I took a little step in the right direction and I have this plan, this action plan, it always helps me. And this is something like, even with my friends, if they're having like a hard time, I love to help people too. Hopefully not in like an annoying way. I wait until they ask for my help, but when they feel stuck or they're feeling really big things, I'll ask like, can I take some things off of your plate? Or can I do a little bit of research for you? Or can I send you some links? Like, can I look into something for you? I just personally find if I sit with my feelings for too long, I get stuck. And then I just turn into like this block of cement and I can't do anything. And I need to have some kind of an action plan, something that I can start chipping away, that I can start like moving forward, having things be done differently and move in the right direction. So making sure that I don't stay stuck for too long and finding that balance between sitting with my feelings and also not becoming like that total just like block of cement where it's just like I'm just stuck and I'm like, I don't know what to do now. I need like small, manageable action plan for how I'm going to start moving forward, even if it's at a crawling pace. I need something. The third one, know that one day this will be in your rearview mirror. I know this deep, 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 deep in my heart. Even in some of the toughest days, I have learned, like even when I was giving you my little trauma resume a few minutes ago, all of those things are in my rearview mirror. It's not to say that they don't still impact who I am right now. It's not to say that, maybe I've fully 100% completely moving on, forgiven, released all of that with some of those things. Like even sometimes my relationship with food, like anyone who's struggled with that before, like there's still that little voice that likes to, say things to you or, uh, whatever. If you know, you know. And even though I have worked really hard to heal my relationship with food, I still have my moments, but that is in my rearview mirror. Everything in the past, at one point, it was my present, and it is now in the past. It is in the rearview mirror. I know deep in my heart that whatever you are going through right now, there will be a time that it will be in your rearview mirror. It will be in your past. It may be your present right now. It will not be your present for forever. And having gone through some things, and now I can see you do eventually move those things to the past. It helps me even in the really hard moments into adulthood, et cetera, that I can hold on to. And I know that like this is temporary. It is awful and just feels like so much in the moment. It will be in the rearview mirror one day. And that gives me a lot of hope knowing that. I can't say when, but I know there will be a time where my present and my reality won't be this anymore. Another one is I actually find it to be really comforting to do a meditation that is not related to the thing that I'm going through. This is just for me. I know a lot of you find it really helpful. Let's say, for example, you are going through heartbreak and you may have typed into Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, like meditation for healing heartbreak. It took you to a practice that I did and you found that particular practice to be really helpful. I like those types of practices a little bit more removed when I'm like in the thick of it. When I am like those first few days, first few weeks, like when I'm really in it, I want to use my meditation practice as a way to give myself a mental break from worrying, from the anxiety around the particular thing, the really big feelings, whatever it is. I like to use it as a little bit of self-care to calm everything down, hit the pause button. That feels good to me in that moment. I know not everyone's going to feel the same way, but I like to do a meditation practice that is like not really related to what I'm going through. And then when I'm a little bit farther removed, then I like to use my meditation practice as a way to kind of unpack, to sit with things, maybe do like a little healing and work around it. But when I am in like the thick of it, I'm just going to be doing like some breath meditation. I might listen to a guided meditation that's for, whatever, drifting clouds to sleep. Whatever it is. But I use it as like my little break from what I'm going through. And I personally find that to be helpful. You might find that the opposite works for you, but that's how I personally like to use meditation to support me during that time and like that little bit of it. Another thing that I have learned is it's really helpful to me when I reframed this idea of like, quote, letting things go or fully moving things in the past. When it comes to like your feelings, your grief, your struggles, your heart pain, it's not really about getting rid of it. It's learning how to hold hands with it. And how can you hold hands and move forward, inch forward with it? Because you're not just going to be able to drop it and it's going to be gone. It's not like a coat that you can just take off your sadness coat or your fear coat or your anxious, sad mom heart, whatever it is. You can't just take that off like a coat and hang it up and then it's gone. But you do have to learn how to an extent, hold hands with it and start moving forward with it, learning how to coexist with this thing that's in your life. It's not going to go away. And so when I imagine myself kind of walking hand in hand with this really tough thing that I'm working through, being like, okay, if you're going to be here, then you're coming along for the ride. And that I know it's going to be, and a lot of these things will be omnipresent in your life for forever. there are still some things every once in a while that pop up, and I'm like, oh, I'm still kind of holding hands with that seventh grade girl Pain who just wanted friends and so let herself be treated horribly just in the hopes that anyone would like her. Like there's these every once in a while these little glimmers where I'm just like, wow, like, that isn't fully gone. Like there's still these tiny little moments. And you sometimes have to learn how to walk hand in hand with those things, with those feelings, and you can start moving forward together, coexisting, and knowing that it will start to fade at a point. But I think a lot of this stuff, it doesn't ever fully leave, because when you have a really big moment, a really big thing, an impossibly hard thing, it isn't going to go away. It is going to change you for forever. You are going to evolve in that moment. I can't tell you what you're going to evolve into, but it is going to change you for forever. It has now become a part of you in a way that will change who you are in the future, often for the better. I have this, I don't know, somewhere later down in my list. There will be a point where you will be able to look back and maybe 90% of it still feels awful, tragic, horrible, sad, all of that. But there will be something, whether it just made you stronger, made you more resilient, maybe it put you on a path that ultimately led you to a great outcome. It will change the course of your life, and it's never going to fully go away. So learning how to coexist with it, I use the image of like holding hands with it and being like, okay, we're walking together, I guess. But it will start to fade. I promise at some point it will start to fade, even if it's just a little bit. Speaking of fading, my next thing as I'm working towards kind of the fading of the pain, do tiny, small goals that you can do every day. I'm talking little, tiny, tiny, tiny. I'm saying you get up and in the morning you drink a glass of water, or I'm going to spend 5 minutes outside today. That's it. Then you can go back to bed. Then you can go back to the couch. Then you can go back to crying. Then you can go back to feeling frozen and not knowing what to do. But every day, one little goal, one simple, I didn't say easy, because in those moments, is it easy to get yourself out of bed and to get outside for 5 minutes? No. Is it easy to get up and say, I need to drink a glass of water? No. It is simple. It's not easy. Every day you're going to do one simple thing in the morning and in the evening or afternoon. Just start with that. And then you can give yourself, if it's possible, you can give yourself the rest of the time to do whatever it is that you need. This has really helped me to just be like, okay, what is my one thing today? And really tough days. Like I remember when I first moved to Missouri, I had a really hard time. I just left my job. I was working for Nordstrom. I'd left my job. I had left all my friends, my family. I was in this unfamiliar place. I didn't know anyone. I was alone. I didn't know what I was going to do for work. And I had some really tough days when I first got there. And it would very much just be like, okay, I am going to take Mila for a walk. And I'm going to drink a glass of water, or I'm going to like eat a vegetable, like these little things. And I remember in those moments, like the universe works in such like mysterious ways. And I think about this often. I mean, I think about Mila all the time because, she is just she really is just like my little soul pup. But like she was such a blessing because she would look at me and I knew like I need to get out of bed because Mila is relying on me and she needs to go outside and she is counting on me and I can't let her down. And maybe that sounds so silly to be like, I can't let my dog down. No, I couldn't let Mila down and I wasn't going to let her down. She needed me. She was still a puppy and she still needs me to this day. And it's like, even in the toughest stuff, it's like, I'm not going to let her down and I'm going to get up, even if it's a walk around the block. I'm taking her out. She's going to use a little outside bathroom and I'm coming back in. Then I can go lay in bed and cry or wonder why I ever decided to move here, whatever it is. And, obviously that was something that did end up changing the total trajectory of my life. If I hadn't have decided to move there and yoga for you wouldn't exist. And then Yoga for You, when it became a yoga studio, like that's what then led me when I moved again and sold the studio. That's what led me to then creating Mindful in Minutes. I wanted to still be able to share practices with my students back in Missouri. And the only way I could figure out how to do that was to just like start a podcast and just put these audio files up here, never thinking that like any strangers would listen to them, but that I could easily share it like with my students. And it could be this way that we could stay connected. And then it grew and it grew and it grew. And so something totally life-changing blossomed from those moments. But when you're in the thick of it, I find just those two simple, again, not always easy, two simple things in the morning, in the afternoon, whatever it is, to get yourself to do something. This episode is supported by Truvaga Plus, and I think this is such a fitting sponsor for this episode because when you're having a really hard time, working with the vagus nerve and helping to support your nervous system is so important. And that is why I'm excited to tell you about Truvaga Plus, because it is such a cool device. And it's this handheld product that stimulates the vagus nerve, which we know, of course, helps to improve like your overall health and wellness. It can help you sleep better. Like you have heard me talk about how much I love the vagus nerve. And it's so easy because you just do these like 2-minute sessions in the morning and in the evening. And it's kind of like this little vibration pulse situation on the vagus nerve, and it really helps to stimulate it. And honestly, I've noticed that since I started using it, that I'm sleeping better at night. Like I'm waking up less at night. I'm like, the magic of the vagus nerve and Truvaga. So visit truvaga.com/mindfulminutes for $15 off your order. That's truvaga.com/mindfulminutes to enhance your wellness journey and get $15 off your Truvaga or Truvaga Plus device. That's truvaga.com. So I did not invent this. I cannot remember for the life of me where I first heard about this. It's called like the rule of fives. And I don't know if this is the original version, but how I like to do it is I like to get a piece of paper and write down 4 different fives. So like a 5, a 5, a 5, and a 5. I mean, I don't know why I needed to explain that. You get it. I'm going to write 5 down 4 times on a piece of paper. And then on the first 5, I like to write the first number 5, I should say. I like to write down how I'm going to feel about this thing in 5 seconds. Then in the next one, how I hope I will feel in 5 weeks. And then again, how I hope or I imagine I will feel in 5 months. And then again, repeating this for 5 years. I like this because the first one, the 5 seconds, it really just identifies like what I'm feeling right now. I'm going to feel the same way that I'm feeling in this, 5 seconds from now. But the second one, when you look at it as like, what will this be like in 5 weeks? I really like that one because one, it gives me something to look forward to or to hope for. It gives me that perspective of like, okay, 5 weeks from now, what is this going to be like? Chances are it might be a tiny bit better. And then 5 months, that really starts to give you perspective about 5 months from now, almost half a year from now. What's going to be different? How do I hope I'm going to feel about this? And I just find that gives me really good perspective. And then when I think about it in 5 years, it really starts to reframe what I'm feeling in the moment for a positive, in my opinion. I feel like even hard things, I think about, there's some stuff just currently in life right now that is tough and, impacts me and impacts some of my loved ones. And it's something that honestly, it's kind of what inspired this, between us, it's kind of what inspired this episode is that I was just like, you know what? It's like, if I'm employing some of these things in my everyday life right now, maybe there's someone else that's like needs some of these ideas too. But when I think about even what I'm going through in this moment or some of the things that I've gone through in the last year, I think about 5 years from now, how am I going to feel about this? What will it be like? And it gives me hope, but it also starts to reframe what I'm experiencing. And I can see kind of the longevity of like, you know what? I might still be sad about this thing, but I maybe won't feel as sad, or maybe I will feel hopeful because I, spent 5 years doing this thing to alleviate my sadness, whatever it is. It gives me perspective when I think about myself 5 years from now, looking back on things that I am going through currently or very recently. And it gives me perspective, and that helps me so much. And sometimes when you think about it, you're like, you know what, in 5 years, I hope to not even be thinking about this. Like, I hope it's something that is a struggle now and is maybe a problem that needs a solution now. And I hope that 5 years from now, like maybe I found the solution in the next year, and then 5 years from now, I'm not even thinking about it. I don't know, but it gives me the perspective and it reframes it for me. And that just helps me. So I don't know, the rule of fives. Something that I wanted to note, I don't know if this is really a tip for feeling better, but it came up when I was reflecting, is that real friends might not understand it, but they will respect it. This is something that I had lunch with a friend today, and I was just, she knows stuff that's going on. And I was just talking about just some of the tough stuff that's happening. And I just let her know, I was like, I know that I've kind of ghosted you a little bit, that I haven't been, keeping up with you as much as I normally would. And she was just like, you know what? This is like the nicest thing that she could have said. And she was just like, you know what? I know that you're going through it, and I get it. And she's like, you are focusing on something that, you're needed elsewhere right now. And I get it. She may not understand the ins and outs of exactly what's happening, but she respects it. And there was something so loving to me when she said that about, like, when you have the time, you'll reach out. Like, you're a good friend. We're connected. Like, I know, like, I respect that if there is something going on in your life that, I might not get it, but I respect it. And that was so loving to me. And I just felt like it had to make the list because it just felt really supportive. And sometimes I feel like when I'm really going through things, life gets really busy, life feels really big, life feels really hard. I often think about like my friends or my other loved ones. I'm like, oh, I should text them back. Also, like, full disclosure, I am the kind of person that this is probably an ADHD thing. I will text you back either immediately or I will text you back in like 5 to 7 business days. There's like nothing in between. And so then I often find myself being like, oh, I should text that person back. Or I think about them at a time where I can't reach out. Or I'm like, I wonder what they're up to. Or, I never responded to their text. And now it's like a week later. What am I supposed to do now? And I find myself kind of carrying this guilt. And so her just acknowledging, being like, you don't need to hold on to that. Like, I might not have experienced exactly what you're experiencing, but I respect that you're going through something, and like, I hold space for that. And that was just so loving. And so I wanted to put this in here that like real friends may not understand it, but they will respect it. So maybe that's something you can, if you're like me and you're like, oh, I need to check in on this person. Oh, I haven't followed up this person. Oh, I've been quiet to this person. Like, true friends, they'll respect it. The next thing, one foot in front of the other. This is something that I will tell myself, one foot in front of the other. Even if you're walking, again, hand in hand with your pain, your struggles, the tough, whatever it is, moving forward to get this in the rearview mirror is just one foot in front of the other. Every step is momentum forward. Even if you just every day, just show up, do what you can, just one foot in front of the other. And I don't know why this is particularly so comforting to me or helpful, if it's like because I'm thinking about the forward momentum, or if it's like just wake up and, accepting that it's currently the reality is not good. I don't have to, do my best. I don't have to, I just one foot in front of the other. That's it. Wake up, one foot in front of the other. And I will tell myself that. And for some reason, I find that helpful. So I don't know if that resonates with anyone. Give it a try. I find it to be helpful. Getting outside. Nature is so healing, and there is something like, no matter what the weather, getting outside, breathing some fresh air, not even just opening your window, like, get your body outside. Even if you live like in the city, get outside, feel some sun on your face, breathe some fresh air, look around, see other people, or look around, listen to the birds chirping, whatever it is. Getting outside helps. The other morning, this was like the most beautiful thing to me. I woke up, and for some, beautiful gift from the universe, pork chop and Poppy slept in a little bit, and I just sat outside. It felt like fall. I live for fall, like crisp fall mornings. Oh my gosh, package it up, and like I want to like bathe in it. I love it. And I just sat outside for like a few minutes, just sat with myself, had some coffee. Mila was out there doing her thing, taking some deep breaths. I did like a short meditation, and truly it like set me up for a way better day. Just those few minutes outside. It was so healing and so, so good. So get outside even for a few minutes. It helps, even if you're not an outside person. The next thing is I'll remind myself this isn't the reality I imagined, or I'll tell myself this is a disappointing reality right now. And that sounds kind of negative to be like, oh, this is such a disappointing reality right now. But I will remind myself, and I think like it's kind of that it's okay to not be okay thing and be like, yeah, this is like a disappointing reality right now. I kind of utilize this one a lot when maybe someone in my life has done something that is disappointing to me or like hurt me or maybe felt like not great and felt kind of like icky, or I'm having to kind of reconcile with something. I mean, you guys know, you all have like family and all that. It's tricky. Relationships are tricky. And sometimes I just have to, say, yeah, this is a disappointing reality right now. It is my reality right now. And it's disappointing. And I think just letting myself feel this and telling myself this is helpful because I'm just acknowledging that it's not what I imagined for my current reality, and that sometimes disappointing things happen, but it is a reality nonetheless. And so if this is my reality now, what could be my reality in the future? Or just sort of acknowledging, when someone just like sees you and you share something with someone and they're just like, wow, like that sounds so tough, or that sounds really hard, or I can only imagine what you're going through, right? They listen to hear, not to respond, and they just hold space for letting you share and just be. And there's something about telling myself this is a disappointing reality right now that feels really validating, and then it ends up making me feel better. So I don't know, food for thought. Asking for help from whatever you believe in. This one, even when I was young, I remember just even not knowing necessarily what, like the details of what I believed in. I personally have always believed in kind of like a universal energy. I do believe in little ghosties, little spirits, and I think, didn't I tell you guys that this is my one, I'm allowing myself like one ADHD tangent per episode. Pork Chop has been talking about ghosts so much. And like I did not bring this up. I don't think this one came for me. It is going into spooky season. He has like some books like You're My Little Baby Boo. Or, they have like the cute little ghosts that look like, a little sheet, the little white guy, and then weird thing. I'm trying to like talk quieter. I'm like, I don't want them to hear me in my house. And then the other day he was talking in the bathtub, talking about ghosts. And then you know what happened? That night on Poppy's baby monitor. Have I told this story before? I can't remember if I told this or not. Obviously, it freaked me out because I'm still talking about it if I did. Poppy's baby monitor moved on its own. I wasn't touching it. It's never done this before. It's a new monitor. It's like one of those closed ones. It's not like one of the ones that you can like easily like hack or whatever. And it moved. Oh, I'm getting I'm getting like chills just talking about it. It moved. And I was like watching her in her little crib, and then it just went, and it panned to the bottom of her crib. I don't know why I can't even say, I'm getting like chills. It panned to the bottom of her crib, like where someone would be standing there. I don't even want to talk about. Okay. So there you go. There's like your spooky season content. But I say, I'm reining myself back in. But yeah, there's like a terror for anyone out there who like has kids and you're looking at the baby monitor and you're like, what if it moves and it moves to a place that like realistically would be a place someone would stand if they were looking at my kid. So anyways, that just totally like creeped me out. And yeah, so I have always believed in things that maybe you can't see, we'll say. And I also find this to be very comforting. Does it sometimes give me the willies when then like a baby monitor moves without me touching it? Yeah, absolutely. But it also, I have found that like asking for help in whatever it is that you believe, like it really does help. And it can be, even if you're not a particularly religious person. I was having this conversation so randomly with this woman I was teaching at a yoga festival this past weekend. And I don't remember how we were talking about this. we were just talking, we were talking about like motherhood and, she had shared an experience that she had in early motherhood. And then I shared the experience that I had that I do know I've talked about this one where pork chop was like 5 days old and I hadn't slept in 5 days because I had such bad postpartum anxiety. And was it divine intervention? Was it postpartum psychosis? I don't know. But I felt the presence of my grandma come in and I just so clearly heard that, I'll take the night shift, honey, you get some sleep and I'll swap with you in the morning. And I just knew in that moment that and I just felt better. It felt like this warm, comforting. I didn't even know this grandma very well. My earliest memory I have actually is saying goodbye to her. I really didn't know her like that. And I needed help. I was asking for help. I was just in this tough place. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Like, I'm so scared. This is like not what I thought like having a baby would be like. And I don't know, just ask for help and it will show up. Just the other day, I'm going to keep this one really vague because again, like some of the stuff that's just going on in life is I never want to include anyone. I am happy to share my life with all of you, but I never want to share anything out of respect for friends, family, whoever it is, clients, and anyone who hasn't opted in to like having their life shared on like a podcast like this, even if I'm going through something and it like 90% affects me, but also like 10% affects like someone else. I never want to share anyone else's details. That just feels like an invasion of privacy for me. So it's not even like I'm trying to like, I don't know. But that's why I want to be vague is that I don't want to include anyone else's like information to share or anything like that. But something that's going on in my life right now is something that I had been thinking about needing a solution to something. And it was so random because I needed like a specific profession. And I was just like, I don't even know where to find someone like that. Like I was Googling and I was like, well, how do I know if like this person is good at what they do, whatever it is? And then it's a very kind of like broad profession. There's a lot of different people that, kind of have like then different like subspecialties within that profession. I was feeling lost. Like, I don't know what to do. And I was at this place, like a little nature center with the kids. And I just happened to be chatting with like a mom there. And we were talking about, because Poppy started walking pretty early. So Poppy was like walking around. She's not even one yet. And she just looks like this crazy, she's been walking for like a month. She looks like this crazy, like baby, like truly like a baby, just like standing upright and like walking around. It like looks kind of funny, but it's cute at the same time. And we were just talking. She was like, oh my gosh, like your baby's walking. Like, how old is she? And we were just kind of chatting. I don't know how we got on this topic, but she asked me something like, oh, like, are you a small business owner? And I was like, yeah, like I have my own business. This is what I do. And for some reason I was like, do you have a small business? And she was like, yeah, I do. And I was like, oh, tell me about it. And I kid you not, again, I'm getting chills. These are the good chills, not the ones where I think about like spooky things happening in my house. But I kid you not, she said the exact profession that I needed and the exact like subspecial. She's like, and my specialization is in, and then she listed the exact thing that I needed. And again, I'm getting these chills and I like just my jaw, like, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? You do what? What's your profession? And it's like this really specific kind of like niche thing that I was looking for. And I was like, I have this situation going on in my life and I happen to be looking for that. And she was like, oh, well, here's my card, like give me a call. And it was the exact thing that I had just been thinking about and kind of asking the universe, being like, I'm stuck. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what direction to go. And then I kid you not, like this person just happened to come up and be like, oh my gosh, your baby's walking. And she's so little. And she happened to ask me if I was a small business owner, which I feel like is such a random question. I don't walk up to just random people. Usually I'm like, hi, I'm Kelly. Are you a small business owner? And it felt natural. And I was like, yeah, are you? And I don't usually ask people. I'm like, are you? And her business was the exact thing that I needed. And I was like, okay. And then like literally like that night, I like emailed her being like, oh, can we set up a call? Like, I want to talk more about this. And it aligns perfectly. And I know that this person is going to help me with this thing that I'm currently, working on or co-collaborating with other kind of members of my family. And I was just like, yeah, that was just this week, last week into this week. And I have found that anytime just asking for help, even if you don't always know what you're asking for, it it works and the help will show up. You need to be open. Had I been specific and be like, oh, universe, can you send me? I wouldn't have even known how to be this specific of like, universe, can you send me this person that is the exact profession and the exact subspecialty that I need that also happens to have availability in their schedule on the days that I also have availability. Like it just, I wouldn't have even known what to ask for, but asking for help and being open to how the help is going to come, it will happen. It absolutely will happen. All right. I think so. One thing I had, this isn't, well, I don't know. We're rolling here. I only have a few more tips, but I was thinking about leaving this one out, but I think I'm going to go for it. I wanted to touch on when I was reflecting and being like, what helped me get through? I want to touch on something with the bullying. And here's the thing: is that these people, I grew up in Minnesota. I've left and lived other places and come back. But I live pretty relatively close to like where I went to elementary school and middle school and all of that. And like, I can still like could casually just bump into these people like at Target. But something that I want to say about bullying is two things really. The first is they may make your life miserable for a certain amount of time, but they are so much more miserable in their own lives for probably forever, or they have moved on and they've changed as people and they have regret for how they made you feel. And I say that with my full chest. And do you know, this is going to sound a little shady what I'm about to say, but we're just keeping it casual here, talking about some of our darkest days. I know that maybe not currently, but I do know that some of these people have listened to this podcast. I see them following me on social media. They have slid into my DMs. They have engaged with the stuff that I am doing. Like, I know they're still around. I know that they see me and I hope that they see me. And my hope would be that they're happy, I'm happy, because I am happy. But also, I really don't care that much anymore, because something that I realized, there would have been a day where I would have been so scared to share what I'm sharing and to just be my most authentic. Because honestly, part of the stuff that they like bullied me for was having ADHD, being neurodivergent, having a learning disability, and then also kind of being into like this woo-woo stuff. And there would have been a day where I would have been, because I was like a 7th grade girl, also being like, I'm kind of into yoga. There would have been a day where that would have just made me like shake in my boots, being like, oh my gosh, like these people who tormented me, like they're watching what I'm doing. What are they thinking? Are they still talking bad about me? Are they all this stuff? Like I still let them have this hold on my life. And I do not care anymore. And I know they're here. Maybe you're listening. Hello. I will give them truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This is how I respond to sassy YouTube comments, because sometimes people on like the YouTube videos, sometimes I'll leave these really rude comments, and I truly mean this. I will respond. This sounds so sassy, but I'll respond with a common loving kindness meditation mantra. and I'll say, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be treated with kindness. And I genuinely mean it from the bottom. Truly, I do. It sounds so sassy to respond to something, but I just feel like when you're getting that negativity sent your way, I want to like diffuse it just by sending them like well wishes. And also, if you are the kind of person who is truly a bully or someone who is like having such a hard time, and I do, what I'm about to say, I do like truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. Like if you're having such a hard time that when you try to start a meditation from a stranger that you don't know, that's also like a totally free thing that you could just like, you don't have to listen to it. You could just click away from it. But you're having such a tough time and maybe you're hurting or you're struggling for some reason. I have to say, you guys, the overstimulation meditation that I've done, I have changed it since, because when I put it up on YouTube, the amount of people that would leave these, and I laugh because I do think the situation is kind of funny that people were kind of freaking out like about a meditation. And I get it. They were coming to this meditation and they already like wound up and like overstimulated. And boy, could I tell from the comments, because I know sometimes I get a little rambly at the beginning of episodes, or I'm being like, hey, this is what's going on. Check this out. The amount of comments that were like all caps and like clearly from people in a very activated state being like, shut up, lady, and just get to the like, these are things I'd actually like write in these comments being like, shut up, lady, I don't want to hear about your life or your meditation challenge. Just get to the practice. And like, it's in all caps. So I assume it was in like, they were like yelling. And I would see those, and every time there's something about that particular meditation. I have changed it since, where I edited out the first part, because honestly, I just got tired of getting these emails being like, your overstimulation meditation has a new comment. I'm like, oh boy. And I know that these people are in a really like activated state, and then, not being able to like immediately start the meditation because it is a podcast episode. So there's some talking, was very triggering for them. But, and I do think that one makes me like I get it. I think it's kind of like funny, like meditation humor. And I have changed it since, because I do not intend to like trigger anyone with my chit chat by any means. But if people are just generally leaving like these rude comments or like just unkind things, I just like, what must they be going through? Especially for something that's like, it's this free thing. Like, you could just click away. You don't have to, no one's making you listen to it. You don't like it. And I certainly don't, it's okay if you don't listen to it. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not even going to know. But I apply that same kind of mentality. And that's why I do try to transmute it with saying, may you be healthy, may you be well, may you be happy. But people that have hurt me in the past, like these bullies that I know that are sometimes still lurking, and I don't know, maybe they like to meditate now. Maybe, we're hanging out. But I kind of have that same mentality of just like, you know what? Like, may they be happy, may they be healthy, may they be treated with kindness, because you have to really be going through something and be really miserable in your own life to treat other people like that. And I know it's such a cliche to be like, oh, well, bullies are just miserable in their life. But really, like, they may make your life miserable for a certain amount of time. And I'm not saying it's okay to be treated that way ever. Like, it's not. It is not okay to be treated that way whatsoever. If there's anything that you can do to like get out of that situation, like, please do. If I know I have like some younger listeners out there, like, truly do talk to an adult. Like, you don't need to be treated that way by any means. The people who do engage in that kind of behavior, when it's not okay and it's inappropriate, they are miserable in their own lives 100%. I know it. And they are doing this because they either see something in you that like they wish they had, or that they maybe really dislike in themselves, or there's something about your existence that's triggering. The people who have always been really unkind to me about starting a business, following my dream, I know it's because they had a dream in their heart that they wish they would have followed and they chose not to. And so I think sometimes it's upsetting to then kind of see an alternate reality. Like, it's hard to then see someone else who did decide to follow their dream. And like, I hold space for all of those things. And that's why I try to just transmute it of like, you know what? I'm sorry that you're having a hard time. So I don't know. I thought that was going to be a quick one. It wasn't. But just remember, again, any of my younger listeners, like if anyone is listening and you are going through like true bullying in school, like talk to grownups. If there's anything that you can do, like do that. I wish I would have spoken up, and I didn't even realize I was really getting like truly bullied like that badly until I was just like really like thick in it, and then I didn't know what to do. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. They're truly, they say hurt people, but I know this to be true in my heart, and holding on to those people, it doesn't really serve you, and they're just miserable in their own existence. So a couple more here. Showing someone else kindness. Giving feels good. It's hard to show someone else kindness, especially when you're having such a hard time, but a little random act of kindness, especially if like a stranger, I find just is really comforting and soothing in those really hard times. It just feels good to me. I think it helps me to kind of like reconnect with like humanity and to remember that like there is good in this world and we can help each other out. I don't know. I just find it to be really comforting. One thing that I did, there was something kind of tricky going on when Poppy was just born. And it was through that experience that I decided that I wanted to be like a breast milk donor. And there was something about seeing these other moms that were so grateful for what I had to give. And to me, it didn't feel like that big of a deal. I was like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, making this milk out of, I don't know if anyone is, listening with their kids. But anyways, I was like, well, I happen to have a surplus of this breast milk. And I was in this like group, and then I could like match with moms and who needed it. And like just the gratitude that they have for what I could give them. It just, I don't know. There's something about that, just like human connection. It also, I think, reminded me of all of the blessings that I do have and just being able to like give something and like help someone out and just do like an act of kindness to someone. It really helped to support me during something that was kind of going on during that. And yeah, so, is there a little random act of kindness? Is there something that you can do? It really does feel good, even if you're having a tough time. And I do think kind of what you put out eventually will come back to you in some way or another. Not that I'm, not that we do things to, get good things back in return, but I think that's part of like what makes it feel good is that you do know that there'll be a time, or maybe there's been a time in the past where like someone's done something kind for you and this is your opportunity to kind of like pay that back. So I find that a little random act of kindness, if you can, to be helpful. And then water. This is my last one, and then we're getting into your recommendations. Water. I think I've shared this one before. I saw this online. It always resonated with me. And someone said that water helps everything. Either cry about it, take a shower, or drink a glass of water, maybe all three, you will feel better. And this has always been so true to me. Like when I'm having a really hard time, a lot of times my personal combination, I like to cry first. And then when I'm done crying, I'm like, whew, that was a lot. I need to drink a glass of water. And then I drink that glass of water, reset. And I'm like, I'm going to go take a shower, wash this off. And then I feel better every time. So I really do like water, cry, shower, drink a glass of water. These things help, especially in those big emotional moments. Okay, your guys' recommendations. So I would say there were 3 main themes for your guys' recommendation. A lot of you said move your body. I would agree with this. Get up, go for a walk. Again, it could be 5 minutes, do some yoga, whatever it is. If you move your body, it helps. There's something about getting the body moving, getting rid of that stagnant energy. Even in the really tough time, and I know that the last thing you want to do in those moments is go move your body. Do whatever you need to do to go for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get it done. It will help. That was a big one that a lot of you sent in. Move your body, go for a walk, whatever kind of movement feels good to you. Even if you're like, I'm going to stretch for 5 minutes, do it. It will help. Another one that I saw a lot was stay busy or even pick up a new hobby to fill your time. One of you said that you picked up knitting during a breakup, which I thought, it makes a lot of sense to me. If you have extra time on your hands, you find yourself just really sitting with your thoughts. Maybe it's something about keeping your hands busy. But can you pick up a new hobby to fill your time? Can you stay busy maybe while you're still processing things? Give yourself the time to feel it, but then also you don't have to sit with it all day long. That was what a lot of you sent. And then I would say the third big one was remembering that it's not a permanent feeling. So the feeling that you're experiencing in this moment is not permanent. It is temporary. You are feeling it now. You will not be feeling this way for forever. That was a big one that a lot of you sent, or something similar along those lines of just how reminding yourself that these things are temporary made a big difference for you in those tough moments. So those are all of my recommendations, some of your recommendations, a couple detours along the way. I am looking forward to Sunday's meditation. I've been putting it together. It is a you will get through this meditation. I think that's what I'm going to call it. It's just you will get through this meditation. We'll see if another name comes to mind, but it's a meditation to help you in those really tough days, to just remind yourself that like this is temporary. You will get through this, and just caring for yourself in those moments. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you on Sunday. And that is all that I have for you. If you enjoyed any part of this episode, I would so appreciate if you would take a moment to leave a review or a rating. I always feel so funny asking, but it really is like the most helpful, supportive thing. And I think that, like, really with people coming in for the nervous system freeform episode, a lot of the times if something of an episode gets highlighted or something like that, it's because people are leaving like more reviews and engaging, and the algorithm is like, oh, like people are really enjoying this show, and it'll like share content. And it's also just something like I do read them, and it's just really sweet and loving. And I love hearing about like how you stumbled across the podcast, like your favorite episodes, all that. So anyways, if you have a moment, if you're listening on Spotify, in the Spotify app, you can leave a 5-star rating, and then Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review, or share with a friend, all that stuff. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. And if you are listening to this at a time, if you're in the thick of it and you're asking yourself, how am I ever going to get through it? I am sending you so much love. I am sending you a big hug. Hang in there, one foot in front of the other. This will be in your rearview mirror one day. I promise you. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you Sunday.